Hello Internet, it's Zeg. I'm here playing Oxygen Not Included. Now the first thing you might notice is that this is not the start of the game. That's because I already recorded a video, but due to a couple of reasons, some things are now going to change. First reason is that I couldn't upload to YouTube for reasons. Not to worry about that. Second is that there was actually a patch that made some slight changes to the world generation. So I figured what I'd do is restart the map, play to approximately the same point, still 15 cycles in, and we'll just carry on from there. And the other video linked will be in the description in case you want to see how I got to not exactly this point because it's a different map but the same map, it's the same seed, but that video shows me the first segment of getting to this point of the game, and we're just going to carry on from here. I don't even remember what's different really. I was maybe slightly more gung-ho about getting insulated walls up and running. The oxyfern pit at the bottom of the base is slightly better laid out maybe, with potential to expand. And I also got over into the rust biome quite quickly because I've also been playing a bunch of other saves on different maps, and the rusty oxidizer is pretty awesome for early oxygen, so I was like, let's maybe not go algae, let's go rust instead. Also because the rust biome is cold rather than hot, so don't bring out any more unnecessary heat into your base until later. Also, this rust biome is extra cold because there's a big chunk of obsidian sticking into an ice biome here that's just transmitting the temperature out. And also a big chunk of obsidian on this side transmitting the heat in, so really, maybe that just sort of evens out. Okay, so the plan from now is that I'm essentially going to attempt to play approximately 15 cycles, and then we'll cut back for an update. What am I likely to get done in that 15 cycles? Well, get the rusty oxidizer room up and running. I'm thinking I'm going to use the salt vines growing in the bottom to just soak up the chlorine and not worry too much about whether that's efficient or not, because I don't think it is. I think the salt vines have some weird properties with the gas mechanics that tends to delete more of the chlorine than they actually use, but it's just a good way to keep the chlorine out of the base for now. And we'll also see how hot this gets, because theoretically, while I am using incredibly cold rust, well, not incredibly cold, like 10 degree cold rust, if it's anything like the water electrolyzer, which outputs at a minimum of 40 degrees regardless of what temperature you send in, this will probably come out approximately the same. But we'll see about that, and you know, that much heat is not really going to be a problem for a long time in this 20 degree base. And apart from that, well, there's a geyser up here we might want to look at in that rust biome. Don't really know. Oh yeah, there's the one down the bottom here. We already saw what that was in the other save file, except I've forgotten. It's something not particularly useful. And I'm out here getting sand for the oxidizers. Gonna need some of that. And that's more or less it. We're just going to maybe finish the insulation wall, get the rusty oxidizers up and running, and then we'll see how we go in about 15 cycles. Okay. And cut. Alright, and we're back at the start of cycle 30. Perfectly timed. The rusty oxidizers are going, and the salt mines are eating it up. I actually remembered that I wasn't mining sand down the bottom there for deodorizers, but for the salt mines, because they actually need sand to grow. More important, because I mean, I've got a whole bunch of polluted oxygen just hanging around out the back of the bathrooms, but polluted oxygen isn't really a problem. You just breathe it just like usual. I've extended the oxyfern room a bit further to try and get in all of them. I'm going to uproot these last two in a minute when I start building out this room. I'm storing the rust and the salt immediately above the oxidizers, so when the gas flows past it should slightly cool it, because the rust is cold. I mean, the temperature still is totally fine. It's only like 30 degrees in places. I did use a tiny bit of algae out of a care package rather than by mining it, because there wasn't really anything better to get, and I did also get a hatch. So he's going to just start eating dirt, pooping coal. That will all be good. And And then I guess the next project at this point, because I've nearly finished the insulation all the way around, next project is to get the bathrooms into plumbing bathrooms and start collecting water, because at the moment, as I said the first time I played this map, you've got this little pool of water and this even smaller pool of water, and that's basically it. So I'm slightly concerned about water supply, but of course it's totally possible to basically not use water at all if you only just eat meal lice raw rather than micro musher them into lice loaves. But there's still the research that's going to consume a lot of this water, of course, so it would be good to make sure I'm collecting as much water as I can. So I'm going to do the standard bathroom water treatment, chlorinated storage room, and then siphon off the excess. And that will probably take me another 30 days, I guess. I don't know what else I'm really aiming to do. I'm going to get a bit more salt up here. You can just see there's a bit of a salt biome up there. There's not really anything else of particular interest around the edges of the map that I've seen. Obviously that cold biome might be kind of important before too long, once I start getting into more heavy industry stuff. And a couple of probably vacillators sitting around that I can potentially use. But apart from that, it's fairly standard. Oxygen's flow is still quite bad. It doesn't really get down here very well, but it's good enough that they're not constantly having to wake up to breathe, which helps. I might start pumping the oxygen down and then letting it flow up, but that's another 240 watts that I don't necessarily need to spend right now, and everyone's just standing around. Okay, well I better stop this update and get back to telling them what to do. 30 more cycles. Let's go. Alright, we're back. After another 15 cycles, not 30 as I think I said the first time. And here's what's been going on. We've got the bathrooms more or less up and running. I haven't actually finished the chlorination of the water storage, but it's nearly a vacuum. In fact, I think it's just about to be a vacuum, so we can start pumping the chlorine in from over here, and that will be good. I've planted mealwood pretty much freaking everywhere, just because we need a lot of it, because we're up to 8 population. So we need about 40 mealwood plants, since I'm not converting them to lice loaf for the calorie bonus. I went out here to dig up a little more sand. I got a wheezewort randomly out of the printing pod, so I figured I'd just throw that in there to try and keep the temperature slightly more under control, especially because I've started pumping it, so now it comes out in sort of the middle of the base, and it's generally helping. The oxygen levels are looking a little less terrible. I also probed a couple of geysers around the place. There's one over here, the saltwater geyser. Good old 95-degree saltwater. That's probably not going to happen for a little while. And I'd forgotten what this one was. I said it was useless, and I was kind of technically right at the time, but it's natural gas, which is definitely useful, but it's still a thing to deal with. Apart from that, I've just been burning through research, mainly just getting all the automation tree done so I can start doing more fancy stuff at some point. And got a fire pole going, make everyone a little bit faster. But really not too much more interesting has been happening. And this is now a vacuum, so now I should be able to demolish that specific wire to disconnect that pump, and then build that specific wire to connect this pump and a door. Wait, no, not iron. Normally I would build it of iron, but I don't actually have much iron, and it's real hot iron as well. Because it's all coming out of the rust deoxidizer at the moment. Okay, connect that wire up. And then we'll dig into this not very highly concentrated chlorine pocket around this point of interest, but not too worried about how much chlorine I'm going to be getting. It will be enough. I guess I kind of needed to filter that pipe, didn't I? If we want only chlorine going in there. Let's see if I can cram a filter in. Okay, and filtered chlorine. Then you want to dig out this and that. Maybe a little bit more just to get a slightly better flow going. How did oxygen get in there? Wait, what? How did oxygen get in there? I literally just set that filter to chlorine. There's only chlorine going in there. Crap. Not just like a little oxygen, like a lot of oxygen got in there somehow. Well, I guess it's not so bad. The oxygen will float on top of the chlorine. It was only if there was carbon dioxide that I was really worried about, because that might actually coalesce at the bottom and interfere with the chlorination of the tanks. So I guess we'll just live with a bit of oxygen being in there. What we got out of the printing pod. Slazzy suit and oxyferrocene, and I can't really take on another dupe right now, so I guess we just throw out another oxyferrocene to continue the big old plantation down the bottom. I also randomly got a mushroom seed, which I'm attempting to grow down here. Just a little tiny extra food, but that's like 30 cycles wild, so that's not really anything significant. Right, and that's cycle 45. So, what's next on the plan? Okay, well, bathrooms we're nearly done with. We really need to just reorganise all the rooms and just generally make things way better. Probably open this up to a proper food storage and a proper mess hall. I mean, the bedroom isn't terrible there, but I can't fit anyone else in it, so I'll need to at least build another one at some point. If we can move all the water maybe into one big storage pool, I normally build it over this past the water treatment area. Could do that. I don't know what the next goal would really be. Tap the natural gas geyser would be good, and then sort of centralise my power production. Also, you know, start producing power not by running on hamster wheels. I just didn't want to introduce any more carbon dioxide in my base before I had to, really. And then maybe think about breaking into this ice biome for the cooling. Build a cooling loop of some kind. Yeah, that will probably be... one of those things will probably happen in the next 15 cycles. Maybe. We'll see. And you'll see. In a moment. Alright, here we are at the start of cycle 60. There's been some amount of progress. I got a poke shell out of the printing pod, so I manoeuvred him down here because I don't have a rancher to do any wrangling yet. But I eventually got him to go down here so he can just eat the polluted dirt coming out of the sieve and make me a tiny bit more sand, which is nice. Not that there aren't poke shells, you know, all over the salt biomes, probably up here. Yep, there's one. But it was nice to just get one early. I moved all the millwood up top, and some more, so we should theoretically be producing excess food now, so I can bring in another duplicate at some point. I sealed up the chlorine room, which conveniently all the oxygen moved out of the way just in time, so it actually is just pure chlorine in there, which is nice aesthetically, but not really, important, as I said. Nothing's really happened with the oxyfern farm. I made the dining room into a great hall with the water cooler, so now that's all fancy, and moved the food storage up here. This will eventually be a kitchen. The temperature is starting to be a slight amount of concern, although these have calmed down a little bit. They were getting up around 50 and 60 for a while. So we're going to have to start dealing with that at some point. I started building the ladder way up to see if there was anything else interesting, but it's really just one big old rust biome. There is another geyser over there, and this one that I haven't explored yet. So there's those to look at least. I'm just finishing up a water tank over here. What will be a water tank, hopefully. Just a little small pool for this base, because I don't really have that much water to go around. We'll just pump that up into there and this over there as well. Get that out of the way, free up that space. And then I think... I also dug this little bit out, which is going to be a power room and the space for the transformers, in theory. But before I can really do that, that is where you are going to need cooling, not just for all the machinery that you're going to be running, but also to make all the metal. You're going to need a refinery, and that's going to make a lot of extra heat too. So I'll probably need to think about digging into a cold biome next, probably this one, because I suspect it's probably not very big, and it's also partially been overwritten by this big old obsidian boulder. So I'll probably dig a tunnel down here and see what's up. See what there might be back there. Yeah, I think that's more or less all that's happened. With the Great Hall, everyone's skills have been helpfully getting up. So now everyone has improved carrying too, the most important thing. And we've got both the diggers up to maximum digging. And this guy has already got mechatronics in case I want to get into that super early. Still quite a lot of research to be done. In fact, I should probably queue something up. Maybe liquid tuning, since we're about to start thinking about a cooling system. And we're also going to need fossil fuels as well to actually use that. Use all the power. Oh, and smelting. I should probably do that first. The salt vines are still keeping the chlorine more or less under control, but I did have to put this door in at the bottom to occasionally let out the carbon dioxide that builds up just from people breathing into it. I mean, this whole setup is kind of a temporary setup anyway. At some point I'll move that. I'll probably end up moving it over next to the cold biome and then just use that as a radiant cooling area and just pump the cold gas out instead. That would probably be the easiest way. We have so many rust biomes all over the place that theoretically there's enough rust here to last a million years. Maybe not so much salt. I've only seen a couple of salt biomes, but they do contain quite a lot of salt. Oh, and I also opened up this door to the vacillator room, which, it's full of slime, so I'll deal with that at some point. Just open that door now that I've got a deodorizer at the end, and it should clear it up enough that I can send someone in there to get the bonus. Okay, and that's more or less the plan. We got to get into the ice biomes to get the cooling, smelt up a decent amount of metal, or at least, any metal, and then probably think about a main power room and all the transformers and whatnot, rewire the whole base to make it more permanent and less hamster wheels. But that will be not only for the next cut, but also for the next episode. Hopefully. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So now I'm going to do another bit of editing to put some social information on the screen. We've got a Twitter, we've got a Facebook, we've got our own website. Our own website is generally where you can find mostly just our podcasts that we record, but you can also find those podcasts on a variety of other podcast services. So, listen to those for a long time. And that's it from me for this episode. More Oxygen Not Included probably coming soon.